Hello guys, my name is Richmond and welcome to LEC Rundown, where after a second in a row Worlds performance which sent all LEC fans into a bout of depression, we get to build up false hopes for yet another year. Let's jump into the roster shenanigans straight away. Starting off right away with last year's bottom feeders, Team BDS. So, on Team BDS we have Adam, Shio, Nak. Wait, that can't be right. I have to admit, I thought having Int in your name as a League player was pretty bad, but somehow this is even worse. Anyway, let's move on to the rest of the roster. So, in the bottom lane we have Crowny and Lebrov. And actually, I have to say I am pleasantly surprised with BDS. I mean, to be fair, it can't get much worse than what they produced last year. But still, you know, it looks like a decent-ish roster. Anyway, on to Astralis. So, Finn, 113, Dior, Kobe, and Younghoon. Now, I have to admit, I thought that it is almost impossible to downgrade from what they had last year, but somehow by signing 113, I think that they have found a way. And honestly, I have nothing else to say about this roster. It's just, if they don't finish 10th, then I'll be so surprised. Anyway, on to SK. One of the first things we heard when the offseason started was that SK is quadrupling its budget for this year's roster. And that obviously got everyone excited, especially their two remaining fans. Now, with the roster of Irrelevant, Gilius, Certus, Exekick, and DOS, these rumors seem to have been, let's just say, unfounded. Now, look, I'm not saying this is bad, but if this is what SK considers a high-budget roster, then maybe they have fallen from grace even more than we thought. I honestly don't expect them to do anything more than battle BDS for the last spot in the second stage of the new LEC format. Now, on to Vitality. After the absolute shocker that they had in summer, not making playoffs with that super team, they have decided to go full NA and imported their pretty much whole top side. So, Photon, Bo, Perks, Neon, and Kaiser. Now, I have to admit I have no clue where this goes. Like, two imports which I assume will have language barrier problems, and also putting on random big-ish names into a team that is known for not making super teams gel very well just seems like a recipe for disaster. But hey, maybe it works out for like, you know, the 5th time of trying or whatever. Alright, so, and I guess the positive surprise of this offseason. XL actually have produced a acceptable roster. Odo, Xerxes, Video, Patrick, and Targamas. Now, as much as I am heartbroken to see Nukeduck leave the LEC, no more Year of the Duck, I guess, this looks like a very decent roster. I can't even make fun of this. Like, I'm not quite sure Xerxes still has it to compete at the top of the LEC. However, I mean, if he doesn't do it with this roster, then yeah, he just can't do it, because this actually looks really good, especially like snatching Odo from the reigning champions. That is so unexpected. And like, I really can't make fun of Excel this offseason, which honestly makes me kind of sad. Anyway, on to formerly Misfits, now Team Heretics. So, they decided, because apparently no one wants to sign top lane rookies in the LEC anymore, that they will just go with the Japanese thumb man. So they have signed Evi, Yankos, Ruby, Jack Spectra, and Mursa. So once again, continuing EU's pattern of descending wherever NA went just 3 years later, we have started importing random people. So like, look, I'll be the first one to say I love Evi. But I really don't see how importing Evi instead of taking a rookie top laner or, you know, someone even a bit washed but like still European is worth it here. However, still in the end, I think that this roster is decent-ish. I think it's worse than Misfits last year, obviously, but you know, it's not horrible, especially because they have Jankos. So, continuing in ascending order of last year's standings, Mad Lions. Another import in the top lane for some reason. So, JC, Elioya, Niski, and wait, Karzi? Am I reading that right? Karzi back at Mad? I mean, I have to admit, after that Vitality season, I fully expected him to be out of the LEC. Now, as a Czech, I am glad that he is here, but I have no clue how he managed to sign a contract with Mad Lions again after leaving them last time. And last but definitely not least, Hillisang. So, I don't think that there is that much to say about this Mad Lions roster, outside of how utterly horrible their announcement graphics were. Like, these things are borderline unreadable, and I know that they were trying to go for like a cool look, but this is not the way. I can't stress it enough, this is not the way. Anyway, on to Fnatic. So, finally, after a wait so long, it makes CLG EU versus World Elite Boss back in Season fucking 2 look like a short amount of time. Fnatic have finally announced their roster. So, in the top side, no surprises, no changes. Wunder, Razork, and Humanoid. And while this was one of the worst kept secrets ever in the history of esports, Reckless is coming back, which would be pretty exciting if it wasn't for the fact that Fnatic got rejected by 3 other ADCs, including Karzi, before they signed Reckless. And finally, after his Worlds performance, they have also signed Rux, which I know a lot of people are down on, but I'm actually really excited to see him in the LEC. So we will obviously see more of them before the season starts in the Fnatic vs Koi show match, which I am excited for, and I will probably make a separate short video for that. Anyway, on to last year's finalists, G2. So G2 have decided to go for yet another restructuring. So after about 5 years, G2 have decided to finally part ways with LEC jungler and professional grandpa Jankos, only keeping Caps and Broken Blade from last year's roster, and completing them with Yike in the jungle, and Hansama and Mickey X in bot and support. So, judging from Fnatic and G2, we have finally hit recycling season in the LEC. Now, I think this is a good roster, but if they start losing, I am going to blow my brains out because the amount of crap yikes and craps memes are going to be absolutely unbearable. And last but not least, last year's champions, Rogue/Koi. So as most of you probably know, they have rebranded. And they looked like they were going to keep all of their, championship winning roster, which was a good roster. But then, for whatever reason, they decided to boot Odo and instead sign Vitality's damaged goods in Shigenda. And look, I'm not saying Shigenda is bad, but I just don't understand this decision. Like, you had Odo, he was arguably the best top laner in LEC, and you replace him with Shigenda? I mean, they're still a great team, obviously, but like, why? Anyway, as I said, the rest of their roster stayed same, so Malarang, Larsen, Comp, and Trimby. And just like Fnatic, I can't wait to see them in the show match. And finally, onto the big news of this preseason. So, LEC expanded to EMEA, or EMEA, and they have adopted a brand new format. So, let me bring up the graphic that they have produced real quick. So, if I understand this correctly, first you have a 3-week, 1-round robin, which will eliminate the bottom 2 teams, leaving only 8. Now, I have not fully looked into this, but I hope if we can eliminate Astralis twice, then that would be splendid. And after this, the top 8 teams move on into a 2-group Swiss system where you need 2 best-of-3 wins to advance into the final split playoffs, which are 4 teams best-of-5s with a loser's bracket. Which, honestly, I am a big fan of loser's bracket, but for only 4 teams, I don't really see the reason. But, I mean, you know, it's more games, so I'm not really complaining. Now, we will have 3 of these splits instead of 2, and at the end of the season, we will have a 6-team grand final that I assume will follow a very similar format to the playoffs right now, and that will decide who goes to Worlds. Another thing about these changes is that CIS, TCL, and the Arabian Intel Cup have been incorporated into the LEC. Now, this obviously gives residency status to a bunch of great players, and the LEC teams obviously made great use of this by only signing 1-1-3. Of all the people that could have been signed from these regions, they signed 1-1-3. Anyway, that's it for this preseason's LEC Rundown, and I guess I'll see you guys after the Koi versus Fnatic show match.